A walk to dinner took us past the North Korean embassy and the propaganda board which lies illuminated outside of it. End up eating dinner at a really nice kebab place in the Russian ghetto of Beijing. So one thing that's interesting about China is that it never really had any diplomatic ties to the rest of the world until about the 1940s.
Because this was the first, like the Russians were the first people to get an embassy.
During the reign of emperors,
embassy, but
the emperors
even
believed they were put there by the gods, possibly the god. I don't know anyone near enough about Chinese theology. So they felt that China didn't need to interact with the outside world. This kind of meant that China lacked multiculturalism, it lacked immigration, it lacked the diplomacy even with the outside world. And the one exception to this was with Russia. Since if you think about the countries that China borders, it's Korea, which is very Chinese in nature. There's, so most of the countries around it, and they share intimate links with China. The two exceptions to there are many exceptions to this. One is India, but this isn't really much of an issue since the border to India is covered by the Himalayas. And the other is Russia, which has historically been an issue. Russia and China have been to war. But while the Himalayas protect India, there is nothing between China and Russia, so there's been a lot of diplomatic ties.
You can actually
Hence the aerial warfare
from like Georgia, the
things were
country,
written in Mandarin and in Cyrillic, which was
vodka.
certainly a cool novelty by a city which always seems to find ways to surprise me.
Russian Jenny Lewis. Oh, is this one? Yeah, good on.
I feel I'm like slowly having this realization of China, but like so long as I've been in school, there's been this like very, very linear narrative of like, okay, so you gotta do your GCSEs and you do your A-levels, you can get a degree, you can have a job, and you can work till you die. And like, it's always been very straightforward then, right? But kind of like, something I pointed out to me recently is just how little degrees mean. Like in the regard that, so one of the things I've been doing is like editing this book. One of the guys who was editing the book, we were looking at like the other version. Someone was like, yo, this person has like a degree from this like fancy ass American university, and all their writing's awful. Like, I remember reading that, I remember pointing that out, being like, well, why bother, you know? And it was kind of this moment of, you know, that he had this fancy degree and I hadn't prepared him at all for the real world. Like, I know this sounds stupid, I know this is something you're told every day, but like, kind of the things I'm doing now, like, are barely applicable to the maths that I did, which was kind of all that I did, right? Like the only thing I've done so far that's been applicable to maths is kind of like just messing around in Excel, which is really, really cool, like I really enjoy it, but like the maths element, like the maths is all incredibly simplistic. It's pie charts, like it's stuff that I could have done since I was like 3 years younger, but like the thing that I'm good at, like the reason that I'm doing this is that it's the ability to look at the data set and then be like, yeah, okay, 3 things. I can like read the numbers and be like, okay, it's saying 3 things. Let's put it in a bar chart. Do the bar chart and be like, shit, it was actually saying 4 things, but one of them is wrong. Like, it's kind of like the ability to look at things and be like, draw evidence from the data is the interesting thing that's happening, right? So it's kind of odd that, like, simultaneously I'm being shown that degrees are useless in the regard of like all of the stuff I'm doing, like I have all of the stuff I'm doing, like ability to be better at maths will not help me. Like, or ability to like know loads of history, know loads about the Roman Empire. Sorry, Clark. Won't help me. But the thing that is helpful is like the ability to just look at a data set and be like, like trying to deal with something analytically. Being like, solve this, from this it follows this, which is really cool. Yeah, so that kind of like level of just like appreciation of what like just kind of like the uselessness and the coolness of a degree simultaneously is really useful. The other thing I found out recently as well is that so basically one of the plans was that I'd be having like visitors coming up before Christmas turns out that's not happening till after, and like, you know, this shook me. So kind of like my response, has just been to sort of throw myself into Beijing life a lot more. Like, start seeing more expats, start like doing more stuff, like I've ended up just like volunteering for a lot of stuff, in the regard that I've just kept being like, oh yo, this sounds interesting, let's sign up for this, or like, yo, this sounds fun, let's do this. Like, or Mandarin, like walking up to people and being like, and just I don't know, just doing things for fun. Like, one, it's just amazing that I can do that with A-levels being out of the way. But kind of like my attempt to like more completely put myself in Beijing and like close off from the past, almost as by means as like a closure mechanism. Like, kind of like the direct result of which is just kind of seeing how much this city's got to offer. Like, I feel it's very easy for me now to say, like 2 weeks in, that, oh man, I wish I had more time here. But like, man, I wish I had more time here. Like, it got offhand mentioned to me that I can extend my student visa, like get more lessons, or stretch out the lessons I've got longer. And like, previously I'd just been like, nah, it's not worth it, it's not, you know. But the more time I'm here, I'm kind of just like, I feel I'm falling in love with the city, right? Like, this is a fantastic city. Imagine in England you didn't speak any English, you'd be screwed, right? But, you know, I can survive off like barely toddler Mandarin. Like, I can be like, and you know, that's fine. And like, I'm kind of just realizing that there's a whole life here and just outside of study, right? Like, for years, I've always been like, oh yeah, academia sounds really cool, like I really enjoy learning. But I think the sort of learning that I enjoy is like where it's applicable. Like, I'm loving Mandarin because I can immediately see the rewards of it, right? Like, I learned to say, like, you know, I speak like I don't speak any Chinese, like, 我不说汉语, and then I walked into somewhere and like, someone talked to me rapidly in Mandarin, I was like, 我不说汉语, and then the person was like, there's then supposed to be in English, and like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's the direct applicability of that which I'd learned. It's just so cool. Like, it's just useful. I'm thoroughly enjoying my time here. I'm enamored by the city, and like, I'm looking at ways where I can push it on for longer because like it's fantastic. Like, just the amount of like fun, the amount of like silly things and just enjoyable stuff in this city that's possible is just like amazing, right? Like cities have personalities. Like, this is a concept like well explored in like music, like album, like books, etc. But I don't know, the personality of Beijing just seems to be one of like kind of like friendly acceptance, right? Or simultaneously that and not, right? Like, you'll get like shoved out of the way on the tube by like some grandma who like definitely like broke a 4,000-year-old vase during the Cultural Revolution, so as hard as nails. But also simultaneously, you just get people who like, you know, who will sit next to you at dinner time and who know 3 words in English, but will tell you all 3 of them. Like, I don't know, it's just the charm of the friendliness of this city. And, you know, maybe this is a honeymoon stage, right? Maybe all this is going to wear off and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be like, yo, Newcastle, I miss Newcastle. But right now I'm really enjoying like the break from the education system. And I'm really enjoying like the prospect of taking that further. Like, I was chatting to David Weeks, who's an absolutely lovely guy. Had dinner with him twice today and like could easily go and have more meals with him. He's really, really nice. And I was like, so how do you end up in Beijing? He was like, oh, well, I mean, I remember going to law school, so I like, after my degree, I took a gap year, so I was like, oh, screw it, I'll see China. And then I took another, and I never made it to law school. And that's easy to do when you have a degree first, but part of me's hoping I'm never going to make it to law school. And I know that's stupid, and I know that's not tenable because I need a degree. But like, I'm just enjoying the real world, like the opportunities presented to me, the people around me, the infinite possibility, the infinite friendliness. I just wish like me in A-levels was aware that this was what was coming. That would have made it. Yeah, it's a shame it's quite so far from home, but bar that, it's pretty damn great.